morning, TikTok. Good morning, YouTube. So good to be here on this Sunday today. Years past, I'll probably be up in a church with a suit on. But listen, I learned life throws some things at you. You know what I'm saying? Like you never know where the journey gonna take you at. But guess what? Like I'm glad for my journey. I'm happy about my journey. You know what I'm saying? Like it just life threw some things at me, but I'm glad I went through those things, because if I didn't go through them, I wouldn't be here today. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't be where I am today. And I'm just thankful and grateful, just for the struggles of what got me to where I am today. Because sometimes if it wasn't a struggle, we wouldn't be woke. We'll be dead sleep. But the struggles and the things I went through caused me to be woke, caused me to open my eyes and to realize like the error of my ways. Sometimes you gotta see the error of your ways. Sometimes you can't see it because you so consumed by so many other things. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you can't see it because you so in love. Sometimes you can't see it because you so in lust. Sometimes you can't see it because you so hungry for certain things, and you become tunnel vision that you're not opening your eyes to the broader arena or perspective of things that's going on around you. But again, I thank God for the struggle. I thank God for the rejection. I thank God for the pain. I thank God for the things that I went through, the ups and downs. I thank God for the hurt, because if I didn't taste that stuff, if I didn't eat of those things, I would still be in the same place doing the same thing. And listen, when you do the same thing over and over and you expecting that something gonna change, they call that insanity. And yes, I was operating in a mindset of insanity, doing the same thing over and over. But good morning, you guys. Welcome to my live. I'm just here to drop some nuggets. Some of y'all is this woman and man, black and white. Yeah, I'm just here to drop some nuggets on you. We talking about like reclaiming your life today. You know what I'm saying? Like, and let me give you some context as to where I'm coming from. So I myself, I've dealt with like narcissistic trauma and narcissistic abuse in marriage, like even in church, even in ministry. Like I dealt with those things, and it took me later on in life to realize like there was a lot of fallout. There was a lot of trauma that I suffered from having gone through these things, from having gone, through that narcissistic trauma and abuse, from certain people that I subjected myself to. So I realized later on, through my healing journey that, this is a process, and I'm learning to respect the journey, you know what I'm saying? To respect the process, to respect the healing, you know what I'm saying? Don't think because you went through that stuff, oh, I'm okay, I'm just gonna come out of it. No, man, it's some things you gotta process. It's some tools that you need, it's some prayer that you need. Hello, Fortnite edits. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to my live. But it's some tools you need. It's some things you need, to help you. You know what I'm saying? Reboot your life. That's what it is, man. It's a reboot. Glad you're doing good. Back at rehab. No, I think you got me twisted for somebody else. Chelsea is probably the bald headed. It's probably the bald head and the black skin. You know. But welcome to my live. Again, I'm just talking about like reclaiming your life. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a process, man. And I've come to the realization that you got to go through the process, man. It ain't no overnight thing. You know what I'm saying? It's a recovery time. It's a recovery period. You know what I'm saying? Good morning, Lisa. Good morning. It's just some things you gotta walk through when you recovering from these type of things. When you recovering from that hurt, when you're recovering from that abuse. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna tell you the most important thing that you lose when you go through these things. I'm gonna tell you this. I'm gonna tell you what the most important thing you lose. And I can tell you, like I've been in a narcissistic marriage. I've been dealt with narcissistic family members. I dealt with narcissistic jobs or bosses, toxic environments. But I'm gonna tell you the biggest thing that you lose when you deal with those type of people. I'm gonna tell you the biggest thing you lose when you deal with that type of situation. Anybody want to take a guess on the biggest thing that you lose when you deal with narcissists, when you deal with narcissistic trauma? Do you realize what the biggest thing that you lose? And I can tell you, like, listen, I've lost home, I've lost assets, I've lost, I lost my family. But can I tell you what the biggest thing that you lose in going through all that? I'm gonna tell you what the biggest thing that you lose. The biggest thing that you lose when you deal with narcissists, when you deal with abuse, when you deal with trauma, when you deal with rejection, when you deal with people that don't really love you, that don't have your best interests at heart, I'm gonna tell you what you lose. That's right, Miss Ferguson. You lose yourself. Oh shoot. Let's talk about that for a minute. You lose yourself. Can you unblock me on? Yeah, so that's the biggest, that's the biggest thing that you lose in this thing. You gonna lose yourself. That's right, Lisa. You lose your identity, and that's very important because if you don't know who you are, then you don't know, you don't have no confidence. You don't have no self-esteem. Like, you don't know what you can do. You don't know your power. But when you subject yourself to that spirit, when you subject yourself to those type of people, what happens is, like, they take the power away from you. They take the ability and the anointing and the confidence. They take your faith. They rob you of so many things. I'm telling you. And I realized when I went through all that I went through, that most of all, what I lost in all of that stuff was I realized that I lost myself. Because guess what? Like, God put some things inside of you. Like, he put some seeds inside of you. He put some oil inside of you. He put some anointing inside of you. But if you steady trying to navigate through rejection, if you're steady trying to navigate depression, if you steady focusing on these ulterior things, then you're not gonna walk in the realization or the affirmation of who he ordained you and purposed you to be. But you're gonna be focused on all of the negative stuff. And I realized that when I was going through when I was going through the aftermath and the fallout, when I was going through the post-discard period. Because listen, narcissists have a period when they finally realize that they can't use you anymore, they can't play with you anymore. They finally begin to realize, like, oh, this is bad supply. I can't lie to them anymore. I can't take advantage of them anymore. I just can't tell them what they want to hear anymore. That's not working. So they discard you. That's exactly what they do. They discard you. So what happens is, in all that process, in all of you compromising yourself and adjusting yourself to demonstrate love to them, and all the adjustments and sacrifices that you made to try to convince them that you love them, to try to be there for them, and all of that, baby, I'm telling you, you lost yourself. You lost in that whole process, in that whole cat and mouse game you were playing with them. You lost yourself in that whole back and forward. You lost yourself in all of that. You lost yourself. You lost your spirituality. You lost your hunger. You lost your desire to pray. You lost your desire to love. You lost yourself. That's some real stuff. And so let me tell you something that comes as a result of that. So what happens is you go into a place where your identity can become compromised. And I'm gonna tell you what clinicians call that. They call it trauma altered identity. They call it a trauma altered identity. Why? Because the trauma has begun to shape your identity. You know what I'm saying? Like, now you're seeing yourself from the lens and a perspective of all of the negative things that were being fed to you. All of the subliminal messages, all of the lies, all of the deceit, all of the deception, all the things that were fed to you because someone had a selfish hidden agenda, because someone was about their self and they were conveying and transferring all of that negative energy into your aura. They were conveying and transferring all of that negative energy onto you. They were conveying and transferring all of that toxic stuff. They was transferring it to you. And let me tell you something, that stuff right there, that's some spiritual stuff. Like, and that's why you gotta be mindful. You gotta be careful of who you come into agreement with. And that's why I realized in this last 10 years, I realized like there is power when you come into agreement with people. Like I literally had to cut off certain friends because I realized that they did not understand who I was. And one of the worst things that can happen to you on this journey as a believer, as an individual trying to better yourself, is to be around people that don't understand or bear witness to who you are and what you are called to do in your capabilities. That's some real stuff, Carla. Let me tell you something. Like that stuff, the stuff that them scriptures tell you, like don't give your pearls to swine. That's some real stuff right there. Because you'll start giving yourself to people who don't value you. You'll give yourself to people who don't see your worth, who don't understand where you are on your journey, who don't understand what God put inside of you, and they won't see the value in you. They won't be able to speak into that dimension. They won't be able to pour into you. Some people cannot pour into you. My God, that's some real stuff right there. And listen, that's why I disconnect quick from certain people, because certain people, they will never begin to see, understand, or know the value of what you have because they don't have that dimension. And listen, I said that last week. Deep call it unto deep. And sometimes we in shallow water with some shallow people. That's some real stuff. Sometimes we in some very shallow water with some shallow people. And let me tell you something. Sometimes your gift won't even activate when you in cahoots with them little devils. Sometimes your gift will not activate. Listen, that's why the word tell you that iron does what? Iron sharpens iron. But guess what? I can't be iron in the field with the people that got plastic swords. You ain't gonna sharpen my sword. That's the thing. That's the thing, beloved. Like some people, they really can't sharpen your sword. They can't. They can't sharpen your sword. They don't have that ability. They're not there. They don't have the heart for it. They don't have the mind for it. They don't have the spirit for it. That's some real stuff right there. And listen, I've learned to be more discerning. I've learned to be more watchful. I've learned literally. And my grandmother told me this years ago. She was like, you know what? Like you got to pick your fruit. Like you got to be very cautious and mindful and leery about who you allow to come into your circle. Because let me tell you something, like letting the wrong people into your circle can corrupt you. And I realized that even being married to a narcissist, like I began to pick up their behaviors. Like you will become your abuser. That's some real stuff, Lisa. Listen, I learned that you will pick up their behaviors. You will pick up a lot of their attributes. You will pick up stuff from them. Why? Because association brings forth assimilation. That's why even in some family members, I see it. Like even in some husband and wives, I see it. I've seen people come together and get married. That's why, listen, marriage is a very important thing. Marriage is a very powerful thing. Why? Because this person you share in your bed with, you share your life with, you two become one. And baby, association bring about assimilation. And listen, I done seen some folks get married to some jokers and they start taking on that person characteristics. They start picking up their stuff. And I can tell you even now, like even my wife, she's starting to pick up some of my virtues. She's starting to pick up some of my natures. Like Even her mindset, her way of thinking now sometimes has become altered because we have become one. Even myself, some of the way I used to think because I'm with her now, like my mindset is changing. My mindset is shifting. And you know what? That's how it should be. People ought to be able to influence you, have a positive influence on you. And just as somebody can have a positive influence on you, baby, they can also have a negative influence on you. So you got to be mindful. You got to be careful. But listen, that's what we chopping it up today, right? So we're talking about like reclaiming your life. And I can tell you like that process of reclaiming your life after the fallout, it's an uphill battle. It is an uphill battle. It is an uphill fight. Hello, Victoria. Hello, welcome to my live. But listen, baby, that thing is an uphill battle. It's an uphill fight. And I realized that back in 2016. I was like, man, I'm over here fighting with depression. Man, I'm over here suffering because of, you know what I'm saying, dealing with somebody who had a hidden agenda for my life and was playing on me, and I went with their game for years, and finally waking up and realized that they had been playing a game. And I was like, woe is me. Not only was I like, woe is me, but I was like, man, like, so you mean the person that I was dealing with all these years was the false person, a person that you made up in order to woo me and to catch me off guard and to blind me and get what you want and use me. So it was some serious fallout and recovery that I had to go through to get myself back, to get back to myself. And let me tell you something, that process, it was slow and steady. And as you go, listen, as you go through that trauma cycle with the narcissist, as you go through those things, you don't even realize how far away that you're getting away from yourself. You won't even realize it until years later. You won't even realize it until after the fallout. And when I turned around and looked, I had gotten so far away from myself. I had gotten so far away from the principles and the values and the morals and the things that got me to where I was at that point in my life. I had gotten so far away from it. I had gotten so far away from ministry. I have gotten so far away from my prayer life. I had gotten so far away from the things that I used to love to do. I had gotten so far away from all of my hobbies. I had gotten so far away from my music. I had gotten so far away from my writing. Why? Because I was dealing with a person that was pulling energy from me, that was pulling strength from me, that was pulling and tugging on the inner virtue that I had inside of me, and my creativity couldn't flow. But I was in a constant cycle of drama, a constant cycle of issues, a constant cycle of madness, a constant cycle of someone projecting and refusing to take accountability, in a constant mind game, in a constant psychological state of warfare. Some real stuff. So I can tell you, when as you reclaiming your life, like you got to get over the identity trauma. You got to begin to recognize and understand who you are and what God put inside of you and what he anointed and touched and gifted you to do. That's the first step. You got to begin to realize, and I realized that on my journey, like God was beginning to reawaken me. He was beginning to make me understand who I was, because I got lost, Lisa. I got lost in that process. And listen, when you merge with somebody, sometimes you get lost in that process. You get lost in that process. But again, so let me tell you, I want to take you just to Second Kings, because I want to point some things out to you, because as I was just reading an account of Jehu in the scriptures. Do you have diabetes? I was reading the account of Jehu in the scriptures, and it activated, and it brought some things to life in my spirit. as I just really begin to like dive into that story. And I can tell you, so we have in the book of Second Kings, right? Second Kings chapter 9, verse 30, it says, when Jezebel, the queen mother, heard that Jehu came to Jezreel, she painted her eyelids and fixed her hair and sat at a window. When Jehu entered the gate of the palace, she shouted at him, have you come in peace, you murderer? You are like Zimri, who murdered his master. Let me tell you something. First of all, let me tell you a little bit about Jehu, right? So if you scroll back in the Second Kings chapter 9, so there was a prophet that anointed Jehu to be king over Israel. So Jehu was anointed to be king, right? So it's something you got to understand. Like, God anointed you to do something. God anointed you to be somebody. And it was so profound how God rose up Jehu to take out the rest of Ahab's house. Like, listen, you got to understand your own identity. You got to understand who you are and what God created you to do. And I said that to myself. I say, wow, God rose up Jehu. And let me tell you something I love about God. Like, even in the book of Samuel, like before David was king, like God had the prophet go and anoint him. Like, God affirms his people. Like, God lets you know exactly who you are. He puts the writing on the wall. He gives you, he anoints you. He gives you power. He gives you ability. He gives you grace. He gives you strength in certain areas so that he begins to make you understand your spiritual identity. He makes you understand your spiritual anointing and capability as to what you are called and anointed and gifted to do. And I said that to myself. I'm like, wow, here it is. He rose up Jehu. And listen, Jehu was a straight killer. He was a soldier in the army. So God raised him up because he had a plan for his life. He had a purpose. And let me tell you something. Jehu was a man of courage. He had, as the Spanish people say, he had some cojones, right? He had courage because he knew that God had anointed him, and he knew he had to take out Ahab's house. And listen, that's something that we got to do when we reclaim in our lives. Like, you got to be like Jehu, baby. You got to know that God sent you with a purpose. You got to know that God sent you. And as he's sending you with dunamis power. He's sending you with the ability to take out your adversaries. He's sending you with the ability to begin to stand up to every bully, to be able to stand up to every giant and everyone and everything that stands in your way. Yeah. So that's something profound. Like, God rose up Jehu to take out Jezebel. And that's what God does. God foreknows where we are. He foreknows our journey. He foresees our journey. He sees things that we cannot see. And that's why he does things like anoint David to be king. Wow, he anointed David to be king, and he was a shepherd out in the field tending to the sheep. And listen, like, he anointed Jehu to be king to take out Jezebel. And guess Jehu was he was probably drinking with his fellow soldiers when that prophet came in and say, listen, God said you're gonna be king. And that's where you got to be on your journey. You got to understand who you are and what you are called to be and what you are called to do in order to reclaim your life. Sometimes it's the whole journey, the whole purpose of the fight is coming into revelation and understanding as to who you are. Man, sometimes we struggle and fight with who we really are and who God really called us to be. Listen, sometimes we fight with that. Sometimes that's our struggle and understanding who we are. And listen, like, if you don't understand or know who you are, how you gonna stand out here? How you gonna stand up to the devil if you don't know who you are? Huh? Listen, if I don't know who I am, how I'm gonna stand? Well, who am I? Who stands? Who sent you? What you standing on? I know who I am. I know what I'm standing on. I know. But listen, I wouldn't know who I am and what I'm standing on if I didn't go through what I had to go through. I wouldn't know that. I wouldn't understand that. I wouldn't have insight. And listen, that's why you gotta go through certain things. Because sometimes it's a test. Sometimes it's a test of your character. Sometimes it's building you up. Sometimes it's teaching you how to stand. Like, listen, how you gonna get credit for the journey if you keep on fainting? Can't keep playing possum, and that's what we do sometimes. Like sometimes we sit around and we play possum. You keep on fainting. Like you can't get back. You can't get credit by faith if you keep on fainting on the journey. You gotta stand up. You gotta stand up and fight, and that's what we don't want to do sometimes. That's right. You gotta pay for that oil. But listen, that's what he did with Jehu. He rose Jehu up and he sent Jehu out. And listen, and let me tell you something. Let me tell you something about this narcissistic spirit, right? So if you read that account in 2 Kings chapter 9, verse 30, right? So here come Jehu coming in the gate, knowing that he's on assignment. So let me tell you about this narcissistic demon, right? Let me tell you about Jezebel. Let me tell you about this spirit. So when Jehu entered the gate, Jezebel, this heifer, started putting on makeup and stuff like that. Listen, not only did she put on makeup, but when he came through the gate, she started talking trash to him. Oh, do you come in peace? And she called him Zimri. And mind you, I'm going to tell you who Zimri was. Zimri was a king. Zimri was anointed king over Israel. But Zimri only lasted about 7 days. He only had, and then he died. So here it is, Jehu been anointed by God. He's coming in the camp to execute his assignment. And here it is, this wicked witch talking this crazy stuff to him. Talking about Zimri. And I'm telling you, when I read that, I thought about it. I'm like, man, that's just like the spirit of that narcissist, Lisa. That's just like that spirit. They gonna say some demonic, twisted witchcraft stuff to you to try to take you off your rocker. They gonna tell you some twisted stuff because their mind is twisted, their heart is twisted to take you off your rocker. And I say, man, she called him out. She say Zimri. Zimri. So man, I'm like, you got to be careful what you receive from these narcissistic people. Because listen, if Jehu would have stopped and really processed what she said and thought about it, she called him Zimri. So you trying to say that because Jehu was just anointed king. So you trying to say like my season gonna be short, I'm gonna die? Baby, you better be careful of what these Jezebelic, narcissistic people are feeding you. Because the stuff that they speaking to you is coming from witchcraft. The stuff that they're speaking to you is coming from a realm of evil. That's some real stuff. And I thought about it. I'm like, man, that's straight narcissistic. And that's what that witch did. She was so worried about how she looked that she was putting on makeup. Like, baby, you over here at war and you worry about how you look. And baby, that's how narcissists operate. They're more so worried about the image, about the outer image of things. And you got to be careful with people who are consumed with image. So here it is, stuff done hit the fan. And this heifer is painting her face and putting on makeup. Baby, and I thought about that. And I thought about some people that I've dealt with on my journey. Like, they're more so worried about how the outside of the house look. But they won't put no energy or no focus on anything on the inside of the house. Be careful of people that are so consumed with the outside of the house, the outer workings of the house, that they won't do anything to work on the inside of the house. And baby, if you don't work on the inside of the house, the outside of the house eventually gonna fall apart. That's some real stuff right there. Listen, if you don't work on the inside of the house, the outside eventually gonna fall apart. And then you got people who will be consumed and worried and break their back and break their neck about how the outside of the house look. That's why you got some people. Listen, I rode through the apartment the other day to check something out. And I seen, and I'm like, man, I've been seeing this car here. It was a luxury, expensive car in that apartment. And listen, I'm not judging, but I said to myself, I'm like, how you live in a middle scale apartment and you got a luxury car parked outside? Why? Because those type of people are worried about the external image of things. Be careful of people who are consumed, beloved, with how the outside looks and how people see things on the outside, but they won't do no work on the inside. That's why I'm careful when I meet people. I'm careful. Why? Because I'm trying to gauge and weigh their fruit. Because one of the worst things you can do is start to encounter people that take so much energy and take so much time to focus on building up the outside of the house. Folks that focus on building up the outside of the house are trying to sell you something. They're salesmen, they're manipulators. But let me tell you something. It's something about folk that will invest on the inside of the house, that worry about the inner workings of the house, that worry about the heart of the house, that worried about the people of the house. Anybody ever had a boss like that? They so reactive. They worried about things that happen on the outside. But baby, in order for things to work on the outside, you gotta fix what's on the inside first. Baby, them some nuggets right there. Them some nuggets. So listen, next person you come in contact, whether it be a boyfriend, girlfriend, candidate that you dating, somebody at the job, look at how they handle the things on the inside. Look at how they handle the things of the heart, because it's going to be a temperature gauge to tell you how they run their house. That's some real stuff. And Jezebel just showed you right there. She just demonstrated to you that when stuff hit the fan, oh, I gotta have my makeup on. I don't know what's about to happen. I gotta have my makeup on. Jehu about to come here. Girl, it's a civil war right here. It's stuff is breaking out, and you worried about the wrong stuff. And then gonna have the nerve to call him Zimri. Listen, that was like in my perspective, that was like a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's like, and listen, that's what those narcissistic, toxic people do. They'll judge you. They'll place titles on you. They'll try to identify you with certain things. They'll try to speak certain things over you. Listen, that's why I'm like, I don't connect myself with them type of people. I don't connect myself with those type of spirits. I don't connect myself with those type of mindsets. I don't do it. I don't. Why? Because I understand the power in it. And she gonna call Jehu Zimri. Like, man, so what you trying to say? You gonna murder me? You gonna take me out? And listen, that's the same thing you deal with some of these narcissistic spirits. They gonna say some stuff to you. They gonna put some titles over you. They gonna send some energy your way. They gonna send some manipulative stuff your way. They gonna try to sabotage you. They gonna try to smear campaign you. They gonna send some stuff your way. And as you're rebuilding your life, you got to know and understand how to navigate this energy. My God, that's some real stuff. Let me tell you something. After you done dealt with these narcissistic people, you're going to have to know how to navigate their energy. You're going to have to know how to identify yourself again. You're going to have to know and realize and understand that you are in a phase and a mode of rebuilding. You're rebuilding yourself. You're coming back to yourself, Lisa. You're coming back to the things that you used to do. You're coming back to the things that you used to love. You're coming back to focusing on self-care. You're coming back to focusing on your own sanity. That's some real stuff right there. But let me tell you something, like in that whole crossfire, and trust me, if you dealing with a narcissist, if you ain't realized they're a narcissist yet, it ain't come 360, it ain't completely unfold. But baby, it's gonna be some crossfire, whether it be your mother, a pastor, your ex-husband, your ex-wife, your soon-to-be husband or ex-wife, like it's gonna be some crossfire. And you're going to have to learn how to reclaim your life. You're going to have to learn how to come back into yourself. You're going to have to learn how to pray again. You're going to have to learn how to lift yourself up again. You're going to have to learn how to stand on your 2 feet again. But listen, it's intimidating because the things that they said and did to you is going to be playing in your mind. Zimri, oh, you gonna die soon. You ain't gonna make it. You ain't gonna be nobody without me. That's what Jezebel was saying. And listen, let me tell you something. God knew that Jezebel was gonna fall. So listen, your enemies are gonna fall. Everybody who claimed bad for you, everybody who spoke bad for you, everybody who had bad intentions for you, they're gonna fall, but you gotta know who you are, and you gotta know to keep standing. Listen, that's how I feel right now, even with some of my family members. Boy, they had a whole lot of bad stuff to say. But let me tell you something. When I rose up out of South Florida, when I rose up out of my mother's garage, listen, part of me was scared, but another part of me felt liberated. Come on, somebody. It's time to begin to feel liberated. Sometimes we lose things and we lose people, but baby, find yourself. Sometimes you had to lose that job. You had to lose that friendship. Why? Because God is making room for some other stuff. He's preparing you, Lisa, for what's about to be released on your journey. But sometimes we get so stuck. And let me tell you something, when you separate from those type of jokers right there, oh, they're going to have something nasty and strategic to say. And I said that to myself. I was like, wow, I got stuck on that. I said, wow, here it is. Jezebel done spoke some stuff over Jehu. Zimri, so in other words, Zimri was a king who only lived a couple days and died. So you telling me I'm gonna die? And baby, let me tell you something. There's power in words. There's power in words. There's power in energy. There's power in influence. And listen, and me and my wife had this discussion a while ago. We say, you know what? Like somebody, because I had somebody at the job, they keep on repeating stuff over and over and over again. And she had to point it out to me. She was like, you know what? That's like witchcraft. Like they're repeating something for over and over and over to you, because as they're repeating it, what they're doing is they're telling you a lie, and they keep repeating it because they want you to process and accept and take that lie as truth, because they're manipulating something. So they can't keep using repetition in order to get it into your psyche. And I had to realize something. I'm like, oh, that's witchcraft. That's manipulation. You're trying to manipulate me. You're trying to get me to believe something that's not necessarily or completely true or totally not true by using that repetition. And that's why you got to be careful when you've been under the auspices of these toxic, narcissistic people. That's why you got to be careful, because listen, they didn't celebrate the positive things about you. They highlighted your negativity. They studied your downfalls. They studied your emotions. They studied your pattern, and they played you accordingly. And listen, so now here it is, the fallout. You feel down. You feel out. You feel less than. Listen, like that mother, that father, they discarded you. They walked out on you. Listen, those family members, they walked away from you. And listen, sometimes all you feel is that rejection. Sometimes you feel like, yeah, it's you, like you're the problem. And yeah, to a degree, you were the problem because you stayed in it. Why? Because you weren't strong enough. You weren't developed enough. You weren't mature enough to identify it. You weren't strong enough, developed enough, or mature enough to walk away and choose yourself and choose to love yourself. You didn't have that strength, but God allowed you to go through it. He allowed you to go through it so you can tell somebody else, so you can recognize, so you can live, so you can grow, so you can get stronger, so you can develop, so you can go higher, so you can go further on your journey. It happened for a reason. But listen, you got to reclaim your life. And I realized that. I'm like, man, before that marriage of that fallout, listen, man, I used to pray every day. I used to pray every day. I used to read every day. I used to focus on the things of God. But let me tell you something. When I walked through the valley in the shadow of death with those demons, I lost that. And I realized, I'm like, man, like you don't realize how much it takes you out of touch with reality. You don't realize how much it takes you out of touch with your identity. You don't realize how much it drags you down slowly. And you so much in a fight trying to maintain a relationship, trying to figure out what's going on with this person, trying to love this person. You spend so much energy there that you lose yourself. But I'm telling you, beloved, like now's the time, now's the season, like to reclaim your life. And let me tell you something, like it ain't just husband and it ain't just a husband and a wife that deal with that. Listen, even your mother, even some of y'all, your own mother abused you, your own father abused you, your own siblings, they abused you, they treated you bad, they didn't value you, they didn't appreciate you. Listen, they held you down because they knew the power that you had in you. They talked about you because listen, like it was just easier to down you because you had that light inside of you. You had that power inside of you. You had that drive inside of you. You wanted more and they didn't want nothing. They didn't want to do the work, but they saw you doing the work and they knew what your trajectory was and they couldn't stand it. Do you know some people are just bothered by the fact of who you are and where you're going and what you're trying to do? And listen, I had somebody confess that to me one time. They was like, "Listen, man, we don't like you because you trying to do too much." I say, "What do you mean you trying to do too much?" I'm like, "I'm just here in my lane. I want the best that God has for me. You know what I'm saying? Like I want the best that God has for me." And somebody told me, they confessed it. They was like, "Listen, man, that's why we don't like you. Because you be doing too much." And I'm like, "What you mean doing too much? I'm not trying to compete with nobody." And listen, I'm telling you, that's how twisted some of these people minds are. Like you'll think you're doing positive, you'll think you're doing good to them, and yet they'll perceive it as a threat. You know what I'm saying? Like you think you're doing the right thing to them, and they'll take what you're doing and they'll totally twist everything. And listen, they'll talk about all the bad stuff. They'll project all the negativity and tack it on your name and won't mention none of the positive stuff you did. Won't mention none of the sacrifices that you made. Why? Because you're dealing with somebody that's reprobated. You're dealing with somebody that got a twisted mind. You're dealing with somebody whose conscience is seared, like they don't have no conscience. They don't consider how other people feel. They don't even know how to process empathy. They're just out here worrying about the outside of the house, just like Jezebel. They worried about the outside of the house. They can't even focus on the inside of the house. They don't even know what the inside of a house look like. All they know is how the outside looks. And that's what drives them. That's what pushes them. That's why narcissistic people are only concerned about their image. They only worried about what their image looks like. Oh, let me tell you something. And you start doing things to threaten their image, oh, they gonna come for you. They gonna come attack you. They gonna do smear campaign. They'll set you up. They'll call the police on you. They'll lie on you. They'll lie to other people about you. They'll deceive other people about you. They'll take 5% of the truth and create 1,000% lie on you. Baby, that's how they move. But you got to reclaim your life. You got to separate yourself from that stuff. You got to allow God to deal with you and use you. You got to open up your heart and open up your spirit. Let me tell you something from personal experience. When you deal with this type of abuse, it closes up your heart. It puts a seal on your heart. It puts a lock over your heart. Because why? I'm so stuck in my depression. I'm so stuck in my resentment and the pain and the fallout in the aftermath of emotional, mental, and spiritual trauma that I have received and am processing as a result of this transaction. My God. And baby, that's what it was. It was a transaction. It was a transaction to rob you. It was a transaction to steal from you. It was a transaction to take you down. It was a transaction to take your light out. It was a transaction to make you doubt yourself. It was a transaction to steal your identity. But let me tell you something, boy. You got to step into a mindset where, listen, I'm gonna be like Jehu. I'm going to walk up in the camp and I'm going to take my stuff back. Listen, I ain't telling you to go hurt nobody, but I'm telling you to stand on business. I'm telling you to be about your father's business. I'm telling you to be about your business, because what's going to hurt them is when you start rising back up. What's going to hurt them is when you open your heart, you open your mind, and you open your spirit, and your blessings begin to flow. And let me tell you something. Whatever you lost in that season dealing with that narcissist, it ain't about that. It was about what's in you. And listen, you may have lost physical things. May have lost physical connections to people. But let me tell you something. It wasn't about those physical manifestations. It was all about what was inside of you that was allowed to flow, that caused those things to come into your circle. So in this season, Lisa, as we are healing, as we are coming back together, whatever is in us is going to cause what God put in the outer realm to come into our connection. And that's really what it was about. And that's really where the confusion lies. Listen, I said to myself, in my first marriage, when I lost my home, I was like, man, I lost so much dealing with this joker. Well, how you think you got it? But listen, the way you got it is God used what was inside of you. Listen, it's not about the exterior stuff, but what he put in you that is going to manifest on the outside, that's going to cause that same thing to come back in your direction. That's going to cause those same friends to come back. That's going to cause that same finance to come back. That's going to cause that same increase to come back. So the whole distraction was to make you think you were nobody, to make you think that there ain't no hope, to make you think you can't build your own ministry, Lisa, to make you think that you can't grow, to make you think that there's no hope, to make you think that you're nobody, to make you think that you are a failure. And listen, that's why you got to walk this thing out, man, because you don't want to stay in that identity crisis. Listen, you want to reclaim your life. And sometimes when you reclaim something, you got to take assessment of it. When the last time you took a good assessment of your life, an assessment of your journey? God, what have you gave me? What have you gifted me with? Where are you taking me in this season? Where are you taking me in my lifetime? What's the vision for my life and for my journey? Some real talk right there. What's the vision? What's the vision? And sometimes we're so focused on the now. Well, he said this to me. Well, she tried to get me. Let me tell you something. I said that to myself. I'm like, man, why? Well, she tried to get me locked up by the police. And for so long, that hurt so bad. It hurt me to my core. And I'm like, man, that's the worst thing you could do, especially as a black man. Let's be 100. You calling the police on me, that hurt me to my core. But I had to realize, listen, it was a psychological battle. And you got to realize, all of this is spiritual. And once you start setting your mind up for success, once you start navigating and swimming past those murky waters and understand that God is in control and that there was even a purpose in you falling, there was purpose in you failing, when you start understanding your identity, that through God's permissive will, he allowed you to deal with that. Once you start understanding your identity, maybe you can reclaim your life. And that's what happened. And let me tell you something. It took 4 years and let me tell you something. I'm going on about 9 years. And the first couple years was the hardest. And I'm still in a season of rebuilding. But let me tell you something. I'm reclaiming my life back. I'm reclaiming my journey. Listen, I'm reclaiming. Let me tell you something. Before I fell in that situation, I used to be able to write. I used to be into music. I'm a straight writer. I write in creativity. I love reading. I love writing. But listen, when I was dealing with all that stuff from the narcissist, lost it. Didn't pick up too many books. Listen, stop writing. But I realized in this season, I'm like, man, God gifted me to write. And let me tell you how much of a writer I am. I'm so much of a writer that I used to have people approach me like literally with term papers that were due. And I could go sit down and in 2 hours write a 20-page paper. Why? Because listen, and listen, that's my flow. I love to write. I am a writer all day. But let me tell you something. When I was in that pit with those demons, all of that ability, all that power to flow, right? To flow poetically. Because listen, I'm a poet too. All of those things, like they just, it's like they left me. But guess what? They didn't really go anywhere. Why? Because God is not an Indian giver of his gifts. But listen, but I was so focused and off task. I was so focused on the negative. I was so focused on the words that they kept speaking into my hearing. Listen, because let me tell you something. Faith come by what? Faith come by hearing. That's why you got to be careful who you give your ears to. You got to be careful who you give your attention to. And I realized that. I was like, wow, I had gotten so far away from what I loved. I had gotten so far away from the things that I was passionate about. Why? Because I was in that psychological and spiritual state, Lisa, of warfare. It was a psychological and a spiritual state of warfare. I had gotten away from myself. But I said that in this season and in this dimension, I'm going to reclaim my life. And that's what I'm doing. Right? On this leg of the journey, I am reclaiming my life. Why? Because that's what God's word says. It said that, listen, the Messiah came that we will have life and have it more abundantly. Listen, there ain't no abundant life living in depression. It ain't no abundant life living in a box. It ain't no abundant life living in defeat. So I realized like the problem starts with me. And sometimes that's the first step. The problem starts with me. I had to accept that I made a mistake. Listen, I had to accept that I was just in a position where I continued to allow myself to be abused. And listen, it's normal. It's human nature. It's human nature for you to love somebody that shows you love. But listen, but I had to learn in that process what love looks like. Oh, shoot. Baby, let me tell you something. Some of y'all don't know what love look like. Some of you all don't really know what love looks like. So you gotta learn what real love looks like. And I'm gonna tell you, it's not just a four-letter word that we throw around. And listen, I met people that it'll roll off their tongue so easy. Oh, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. Nah, baby. You gotta show me what love looks like. And that's why my second time around in my marriage, like God showed me what love really looked like. Sometimes we think we know what love looks like because we're looking for voids that need to be filled and we're a little bit confused. That's some real stuff. But let me tell you something. You got to do the work and you got to get in a season where you know what love looks like. Let me tell you something. Narcissists will show you what love bombing looks like. Listen, there's a difference between really loving someone and love bombing someone. Listen, love bombs stirs infatuation, right? It begins to speak to the part of you that produces endomorphins, that produces good feelings in the brain. And sometimes that's really what we're chasing. Sometimes, and listen, the narcissist will do it to us. And they'll act like what we really want. They'll act like what we're looking for. And I heard my wife say that one time when she was talking about her journey, trying to find the man of her life. And she said whenever she would vet or engage with a man, she would tell that man what she was looking for. And listen, that's just what those narcissists do sometimes. That's just what people do when they have ulterior motives in your life. They want to give you what you're looking for because they know if they can play on your emotions, you'll become vulnerable and you'll start interpreting their behavior and their love bombing as love. And so now in your brain, you start having feelings of love. Baby, that ain't love. Let me tell you something. Love don't look like love bombing. And let me tell you something. You won't know a person love you until you go do some testing. Listen, that's why I'm gonna try the spirit. Oh, you say you love me? I'm gonna try this spirit. Well, how do you act when things don't go your way? Oh, you say you love me? Well, can you respect my boundaries and love me the same when I put boundaries and say no? Listen, will you respect me when I bring something to your attention? Will you take initiative? Will you take action to try to resolve the issue? Will you communicate through things? Listen, will you talk through things? Listen, will you compromise? Listen, will you not be in a take, but will you be in a posture of give and take? I had to realize a lot of us don't really know what love look like. Baby, let me tell you something. Love is sacrifice. It ain't easy to love people sometimes. It ain't easy to truly love a woman sometimes. It ain't easy to truly love a man sometimes. It takes sacrifice. But listen, you subjected yourself to someone that didn't really love you, but wants something from you. They didn't love you. So guess what? When the dynamics change, they switched out on you. But listen, that didn't change you because you have genuine love in you. Not only do you have genuine love in you, but you have character. You have character. You have genuine love inside of you. So you continue to love that person. You continue to do right by that person. You continued it. You continue to love them. Why? Because you have love inside of you. Not only do you have love inside of you, but you have character inside of you. So you continue. You continue to love them. You continue to give to them. You continue to pour into them. But listen, when they begin to realize like they couldn't control you no more, when they realized they couldn't manipulate you no more, when they realized they couldn't lie to you, when they realized that all the deceit and all the things that they sold you wasn't real and you were starting to wake up, they couldn't love you no more. They couldn't. They love ended. Their love ended, but you still continue to love that person in spite of. And listen, you made a mistake because you didn't know what love really looked like. Listen, you were unaware, you were uninformed. And listen, like even in the law, listen, the law tells you that ignorance is no excuse. But listen, according to the laws of God, your sins are put in a sea of forgetfulness. But let me tell you something, you still got to deal with the fallout. You still got to deal with the aftermath, right? There's aftermath and there's fallout from the decision that you have made. That's just some real talk. There's aftermath and there's fallout from the decision that you made. But again, you got to keep going. You got to rebuild. You got to reclaim. You got to be like Jehu in 2 Kings. Listen, when Jezebel started talking sideways to him, he still went in the camp and he did what he needed to do. And let me tell you something. That's something about them narcissistic people. That's something about that Jezebel spirit. It's always going to have something negative to say. It's always going, listen, them folks always going to have something to try to pull you down. They always going to have something to try to sway your attention, to try to pull you in a direction of negativity. And let me tell you something. That same spirit might be the person you lay with every night. That same spirit may be the same person that gave birth to you. Listen, that spirit might be in the same person that pray for you on Sundays. That spirit might be in the same person who signed your paycheck. That spirit might be in the same person who you raised. Thank you for the gift on TikTok. But again, man, we talking about reclaiming your life after you done dealt with some trauma, after you done dealt with narcissistic people, after you done been through a narcissistic relationship, after you done dealt with narcissistic family members, after you dealt with this spiritual, emotional, psychological trauma. It's trauma, man. And I had to realize, and let me tell you something. When I was going through, I kept telling myself, no, I'm fine. I'm okay. I ain't worrying about her no more. I've moved on. No, it was some hurt in here. It was some pain inside of here. And let me tell you something. It took me 4 years to get it together. It took me 4 years to really get into another relationship. And even the first year of that relationship, it was rough because it was a challenge trying to trust again. It was a challenge to trust again because in your mind, I'm gonna tell you, you could say it to yourself 1,000 times. Oh, I'm over it and I'm healed. But baby, in your mind is some trauma. It's because I can tell you that that first year in the new marriage, like sometimes it would attack my brain. What if she's like her? Oh shoot. Let me tell you something. The little nest, the little eggs, the little droplets that them demons left inside of you, it's real. Because I would mentally have to deal with that. Well, what if she's just like her? Oh my God. And listen, it will start taking your mind down the abyss into the black hole. It will, but listen, let me tell you something. I had to become totally healed, even within my marriage. I had to become totally free. I had to let go. But let me tell you something. Those thoughts would grab my mind as much as I was like, man, here I am in a new marriage, started my life over, new job, new city, new house. What if she do? But listen, here go the mind. Here go the trauma. Here go the trauma speaking to you. Oh, what if she do you just like she did you? What if she just like her? And listen, it'll start pulling your mind into a place, into a dark place. That's why you got to be healed. That's why you got to reclaim your life. And listen, when those feelings would start to come over me, I would start to pray. And I would start to recognize like, nah, man, that spirit is not from God. Why? Because God will not give you the spirit of fear. He does not give you the spirit of fear, but he gives you power, love, and a sound mind. But let me tell you something, them seeds that they planted in you, that stuff that they spoke to you, baby, they like self-fulfilling prophecies. And listen, if you buy into them, they'll become self-fulfilling prophecies. If you buy into them, just like Jezebel said to Jehu, oh, you Zimri, you gonna die just like Zimri. Baby, that stuff will resonate loud in your head. And listen, I remember what my narcissist told me. And I'm gonna tell you, it was so slick. And they said some stuff. They was like, "Oh, you're gonna really need years of counseling to recover from what I did to you." They said it out their mouth. They said it out their mouth. They told me it, and I was like, "Man, so you realize the impact of what you did to me?" They said it out of their mouth. But guess what? Just like Jehu, I went back into the camp and reclaimed my life. Listen, it was hard. It's gonna be hard. Sometimes it's easy, Lisa, to go back. Sometimes it's easy to go back to where you came from because it feels comfortable. Right? It feels okay. Sometimes you're gonna want to go back to your abuser. Sometimes you're gonna want to go back to the old way. Why? Because it's comfortable. It's comfortable and it's familiar. And listen, my grandmother used to say it. She said, sometimes it's better to stick to the devil you know. Nah, baby, we not going back to them devils. We not doing that no more. We not doing it. We not doing it. We not doing it, baby. We ain't going back to the old stuff. We walking away from the abuse. Like we walking away from the pain. Listen, people that don't love and celebrate us, listen, we giving you pink slips. We walking away. Why? Because we reclaiming our lives. Real talk. But again, beloved, it was some trauma that I had to deal with. And mentally, there was some fog there. There was some struggle there. There was some pain there. You know, there was some stuff. And listen, let me tell you, let's talk about triggers a little bit, right? It was some things that looked like what I dealt with before that caused triggers to go off. Let me tell you something, that trauma did some stuff to you now. You could sit up and be in denial all day. But listen, the sooner you begin to accept accountability, the sooner you begin to heal and understand where you are, you listen, the doors are going to open for you. So I had to deal with that. I had to deal with the drama, with the trauma. I had to deal with the fallout. I had to deal with what was spoken to me. And listen, that joker told me, like, she said it to me. And it reminded me just now of what Jezebel said to Jehu. She said, oh, you gonna need years of counseling from what I did to you. I say, wow. So you knew my vulnerability. You knew I loved this family. You knew I had value in it. But yet you systematically hurt me. But guess what? You didn't realize, like, God was with me. God was on my side. He knew. And let me tell you something, God will be with you. But you got to be with God. You got to take that step. You got to take that journey. And listen, it's going to be hard sometimes. Like, sometimes you're going to have to separate from certain people. Sometimes you got to walk away. It's not going to be easy. Sometimes you are going to be afraid. And let me tell you something. I was so deep under those narcissistic spells from my ex and from my family that even when I got away and things were going good, I would go into a mind frame of panic, like, oh my God, what if this don't work out? What if that don't work out? No, baby, that's trauma. And I had to realize that it was triggers. Those things will trigger you. Listen, sometimes you're going to see things in the new season that look like the old season. But let me tell you something. Do the work and walk it out. Do the work and walk it out. Don't make the same mistakes, but keep pushing forward. Keep going forward. It ain't going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. I'll be a lie if I sat up and told you that it was easy. Listen, it wasn't even easy walking away. Because you know what? Even staying in my mom's garage, that would have been a more comfortable thing to do. And let me tell you something. Ain't nobody going to come from around the mountain and come like they in a movie and rescue you. You going to have to claim your life back. You going to have to take authority. You're going to have to recognize, listen, I'm not loved. I'm not valued. And listen, I'm not celebrated. Like, I'm not happy here. You got to take those steps. God ain't going to take no steps. You got to take those steps. You got to refuse the abuse. You got to stand up to your abuser. You got to demand respect. You got to know what love looks like. Listen, stop settling. Stop allowing things. Sometimes by omission, we open the door. Sometimes, baby, the sin of omission. It's not that you did anything wrong, but you sat up, allowed, and condoned certain things. You didn't put your foot down. So now that spirit running all in your house. That demon running all in your house and running you crazy because you sat up and you failed to take a stand. You failed to open your mouth. You failed to voice what needed to be voiced. And sometimes, baby, that sin of omission, not saying nothing, just allowing things to happen, baby, sometimes that's a trauma response. You're responding from trauma because you done been in so many different arguments. You done been in so many back and forths. You don't feel worthy enough to say nothing. You don't feel worthy enough to stand up. Those are trauma responses. No, you have a voice. And listen, if they don't want to hear your voice, you still speak it. If they don't want to hear you, you still speak it. Stand your ground and reclaim your life. Some of y'all right now is in abusive situations. And listen, you praying about it, but listen, God ain't going to do nothing until you do something. Listen, God ain't going to do nothing until you hold the people around you accountable. And baby, let me tell you something. If you around folks that don't want to be held accountable, you should start thinking about changing the address of your love. Folks that don't want to be held accountable. Let me tell you something. When you walking with somebody, especially if you're in a marriage, like you gotta be able to be held accountable. And you gotta be able to hold your partner accountable. Well, that ain't a relationship. That ain't a relationship. That's a dictatorship. That's what it is. And listen, that's what some of us are in. And that's what I was in. I was in a dictatorship. Like, you can hold me accountable, you can check me, but I can't tell you nothing. You can't correct no behavior. We can't work towards a better us. We can't work towards a better family. We can't work towards a better unity. No, because it's all about what they want. It's all about their agenda. And anything outside of that gonna be manipulated away. It's gonna be downsized. It's gonna be projected. It's gonna be deflected. No accountability. Listen, let me tell you something. If you dealing with people that don't want to take accountability, you're dealing with people that's only concerned about the outside of the house. I want you to remember that. Listen, be watchful, be mindful of people that only worry about the outside, how the outside of the house look. But listen, gravitate towards people who are concerned about how the inside of the house look. Listen, the workings of the heart look. Don't worry about people that's so consumed with fashion and material things and what people got to say. Be mindful of those type of people. But listen, I want some folk that's worried about how the inside of the house look. Because let me tell you something. If you work on the inside of the house, you don't have to worry about how the outside look. If you work on your heart, if you work on your inner man, if you work on yourself, you won't have to worry about how the outside look. And listen, that's where I'm at on my journey. I don't care what you say about what kind of car I drive. I don't care what you say how I look. Listen, why? Because I'm working on the inner man. I'm working on the inside. I'm working on the inner virtue. I ain't worrying about what people say. I'm not worried about how people perceive me. I'm not worried about how people feel about me, but I'm working on me. I'm working on myself. I'm working on my own character. I'm working on my own energy. I'm working on my stuff. And listen, that's where you got to be to reclaim your life. So listen, remember that. Read that in 2 Kings chapter 9. Read about Jezebel. Read about her putting on makeup when Jehu came into the camp. Read about her taunting Jehu. And listen, read some of those prophecies. Why? Because God already knew that Jezebel was going to fall. And just like you, listen, he know your opposition going to fall. But you got to reclaim it, right? You got to step up to the plate. You know, you got to know that, baby, Jezebel going to fall. She going to fall. Jezebel going to fall. But she want to make you think that you going to be the one to fall. And that's some real stuff. Hello, Christopher Smith. Blessings, brother. But that's some real stuff, man. Jezebel will fall. And listen, she gonna mock you. She gonna mock you. She gonna talk about you. She gonna do stuff to stir your spirit. She gonna do stuff to stir your emotions. She gonna do stuff to play with your pride. She gonna do stuff to play with you. Blessings, Christopher. Blessings, brother. But yeah, but that's where it is. But like I say, when I realized like what I was up against, when I realized I was like, man, like this is a whole thing. This dealing with a narcissist is a whole thing. Go, why are you dealing with a witch? Let me tell you about witchcraft. A witch is somebody who tries to manipulate and take control over people, over their destinies, over their decisions. And listen, I realized like I was in a marriage because of witchcraft. And I'm telling you, there's a demonic force, there's a power, there's a principality, there are spirits behind that. It's spiritual. That's some real talk, man. It's some spiritual stuff. Like it's some stuff that want to take you from your destiny. Thank you so much for the gifts on TikTok. But listen, we over here on YouTube. We over here on TikTok. YouTube is Lion Roar Ferguson. TikTok is Ferg Knowledge 416. Man, we just chopping up some spiritual game, you know, about narcissism, about Jezebel, about witchcraft. That's some real stuff, man. It's some real stuff. I went through some painful seasons and times of my life and on my journey because of that spirit, because of that stuff. And let me tell you something. Now I'm 200% woke. And I'm out here, baby. I'm out here telling the truth, telling people how it is, you know. And it threw me off guard because like I was so naive to it. I didn't know. And I'm telling you, just like back at a show I used to watch in the 80s called G.I. Joe. It say knowing is half the battle. That's half the battle. You done got halfway to the line once you're equipped with the knowledge. And now you gotta fight the fight, baby, the good fight of faith. But listen, I just again, read that 2 Kings chapter 9. Read about Jezebel. Read about that witch. Read about that witchcraft. You know, read about her fall. Like, listen, read about Jehu. Jehu was anointed king. That's what I love about God. Like, God anointed Jehu. He anointed him. That's how God will choose you. Sometimes we don't even know how God gonna choose us or where he gonna take us. That's the awesome thing. That's how God move. Like he gonna say, listen, I'm calling you to do this. I'm anointing you to do this. And that's what the Messiah said. He said, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me. He say, he has anointed me. Baby, you gotta know your identity. They ain't gonna know your identity. They gonna call you out your name. That's some real stuff, baby. Let me back that up. Listen, that's what the Messiah said. He said, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me. He has anointed me. Listen, they gonna call you out your name. Them demons, them witches, them warlocks, they gonna call you out your name. Listen, they gonna pull you out your character. They gonna distort your reality. But that's what the Messiah said. He say, my spirit is upon you. And I have. Who anointed you? Baby, God anointed me. Listen, God anointed Jehu to be king. God, listen, Jehu, a killer. Listen, a captain of the army to be king. He anointed David, tending to sheep. And listen, David father didn't even think, like, he didn't even know. He didn't think. He was like, he went through all his sons. No, God chose David. Baby, that's how God moved. Like he'll take the foolish stuff. Like he'll allow you to go through some things on purpose because he's bringing you in to your destiny. He's bringing you into your purpose through his divine process, through his divine appointment. But that's what they do. They gonna call you out of your name. Listen, they gonna speak things contrary of your destiny. That's what they gonna do. They gonna call you out your name. They gonna call you out your character. That's what them witches do. That's what Jezebel do, because she wanna get you, she wanna corrupt stuff. That's what Jezebel did. She brought pagan worship into God's people's house. That's what she brought pagan worship in. And listen, when Elijah slayed the prophets of Baal, she said, I'm going to kill you. And Elijah went on the run. So listen, Jezebel thought she was bad until God rose up Jehu. Listen, let me tell you something. Like, God have some of y'all in situations, it's just for a season. It's just for a season. Listen, Jezebel gonna fall. Your adversary's gonna fall. But he's processing you. He's allowing things to happen because he got you in that process. And baby, let me tell you something. That process gonna produce some oil. That process gonna produce some oil. Let me tell you something. When I was in the pit, when I was in that low valley, dealing with that witch, dealing with that Jezebel, dealing with them spirits, oh, the stuff that was said to me. Oh, the lies that was told to me. Let me tell you something. The spirit of the Lord is upon you. He has anointed you. Baby, they gonna call you some other stuff. They ain't gonna call you anointed. Listen, they gonna call you something else. They gonna call you liar. They gonna call you cheater. They gonna figure out some low down dirty stuff. Just like Jezebel did with Jehu, she called him Zimri. Why you calling the man Zimri? Like he just got anointed king. Like, remember, Zimri was a king that only lived a couple days. So, dog, girl, you speaking death over me like that? Baby, that's what they do. They speak death over you. They speak negativity over you. Why? Because they can't control you no more. Because you woke. You realize it. You don't tolerate that spirit no more. And let me tell you something. The reason why you at odds and ends with that spirit is because you don't tolerate it, because you recognize it. That's one thing about demons. Demons hate to be exposed. Darkness don't want to be exposed. That's why they're warring with you so much, because they've been exposed. God, or you and God, have exposed that spirit. Now that spirit cannot tolerate you. Because, baby, darkness don't like to be exposed. Listen, darkness likes to stay hidden. Darkness don't like light. Darkness and light don't mix. So now that you done exposed that spirit, Oh, it's going to call you names. It's going to call you names. It's going to talk about you. It's going to talk about all your downfalls. It's going to talk about all your hangups, all the negative stuff. And I realized that dealing with that demon. I'm like, man, Joker, all you could do is point out the negative stuff about me. What about the good stuff? But baby, that's what they do. And listen, that's why I go to the word. And that had to resonate and activate in my spirit. The spirit of the Lord is upon you. He has anointed you. Baby, he has anointed you just like he anointed Jehu, just like he anointed David. And let me tell you something, it's a process you go through, just like David. When David was anointed king, it was a process to put him in the seat. Baby, it's a process that's going to have you seated in a different place, in a different dimension. But baby, you're going to have to go through the what? You're going to have to go through the process. Baby, you're going to have to fight through the process. You're going to have to fight through that process, beloved. That's some real stuff. You're going to have to fight through that process. But let me tell you something. You got to reclaim your life. You got to reclaim your identity. You got to wake up. Now, I'm telling you, now is the time, the season, and the dimension where we got to wake up. Like, listen, so many things have pulled us away from what's already inside of us that's already powerful. Why? Because these witches, warlocks, demons, and the spirit of this time and of this world has convinced us that we don't have no power. But listen, God is bringing us into a season where he's waking us up. Baby, that's why everything that's going on in America is going on right now, because it's time for the remnant people to begin to rise. And listen, sometimes God got to put you in slavery and allow your back to be up against the wall so that your faith, your creativity, your courage, and your drive start to kick in. I just said something right there prophetically. I feel my prophetic mantle kicking in right there. That's why what's happening is happening right now. Don't be deceived, but there is divine purpose behind what's happening, because it's bringing us into a place, in a dimension where we need to get woke and start praying. Oh shoot. Baby, that's why what's going on is going on right now, because it's trying to get you into a posture where you're watching, into a posture where you're praying, in a posture where you're concerned about where God is leading you. It's putting you in a posture of dependence on God. Sometimes, listen, we won't pray sometime if it wasn't war. We wouldn't pray sometimes if it wasn't warfare. Listen, we wouldn't be able to get in God's presence if it wasn't no stuff that was pressing on our back. Right now, we need God more than ever. We need his direction in the midst of all the uncertainty, in the midst of all the chaos that's going on. And baby, you can't you can't unsee all the stuff that's going on. Who's not concerned? But baby, these are the times when we need God. Why? Because the just live by faith. The just live by the government. No, baby, the just live by faith. And without faith, it's impossible to please God. So listen, our backs are against the wall. We're in precarious situations. And baby, that's when faith starts to kick in. That's when you start praying. Sometimes that struggle is birthing you. Sometimes we need it. That's the God honest truth. Listen, the children of Israel needed to go through that desert to lift myself, go to church today, but I don't have the energy. But listen, sometimes you got to keep pressing by faith. Listen, it's by faith. You got to take each and every step by faith. And listen, sometimes it don't feel good, but that's the best position to be in, where you're dependent on God, where you're leaning on God to take your very next step. And that's the posture we got to have in this season. That's the posture we need. Why, Melissa? Because the enemy want us to fall. He want us to fail, Chris. He want us to fall by the wayside. But listen, God said defeat is not in this equation. But listen, I see defeat with my perspective. I see defeat with my lenses. But God didn't say it was defeat. So I want to be there. I almost want to call the pastor to come pick me up and bring me to church. Sometimes, Melissa, we get in situations where we so weak and we so tired And listen, we got to realize that we got to depend on God. Like we need God to make our very next step. We need God to make our very next move. Because listen, a lot of times we get ahead of God because we think we got a little bit of strength. We think we got a little bit of knowledge. We think we done gained a little bit of insight. But baby, blessed are the babes. Sometimes we got to become babies. Sometimes we got to get in a posture where our hands are lifted. Listen, that's what that posture is when your hands are lifted. It's a vulnerable place where I'm saying, God, I need you. Come enter into this tabernacle. Come enter into this place. Come take over. I need your Ruach breath to breathe into me. I need your strength in your life to breathe into me. I need your oil to anoint me. I need you to touch me because I'm not going to make it without you. And let me tell you something, when you get in those postures, that's when God begins to reveal himself. My God, that's when, thank you so much for the gifts on TikTok. That's when God begins to reveal himself. Sometimes he got to let you get sick. Sometimes he got to let you get tired. Because baby, listen, those postures put you in a mind frame and a posture of faith. And listen, I'm going to tell you right now, where I am on my journey right now, I need God so bad. And listen, but if everything was going good, I'll be sitting here relaxed like, oh, everything's good. No, baby, it's an urgency, it's a press, it's a pull, it's a tension that I feel in the realm of the spirit. I feel a tension in the realm of the spirit. Something's about to happen. So guess what? I'm on the wall watching and praying. I'm on the wall watching and praying because I know that there are threats looming. Listen, I know that my enemies want me to fall. Listen, I know that stuff seems out of whack. Listen, it's no peace right now. Stuff going on in our local government. Stuff going on around us. Stuff going on at the job. But listen, that's the posture you need to be in sometimes, where it's complete dependence and reliance on God. And I was praying that this morning. I'm like, God, what is your next move? Listen, a lot of times we start moving outside of God. Well, I tried this and it didn't work. I tried to, no, God, well, I need you to lead and guide me. Listen, that's what the Holy Spirit does. Listen, he's a leader. He's a guider. He's a revealer of truth. A lot of times we just need to rely on the Holy Spirit being. Sometimes you got to rely on the Holy Spirit. Because listen, the world around you will start falling. People close to you, K Dempson, in real life, welcome to my life. People around you will start falling. Listen, relationships will fail. Marriage will fail. Friendships will fail. Cousins will fail. Jobs will fail. Finance will fail. But my God, let me tell you something. God won't fail. And if you're in a position and you think something is about to fail, understand something, that God is reposturing your faith. He's reposturing you. He's repositioning you. Sometimes we get so comfortable, Chris, with a paycheck. Sometimes we get so comfortable with situations that God didn't intend for us to last for a long time, but we done got so comfortable with it. And God is shaking us up, and he's trying to get us to a place where we trust him, where we believe, where we hope, where we know that he can do some things, where we know that he can open some doors. Listen, God wants us in a place of expecting some things. Listen, he wants us in a place where we expect miracles where we expect awesome things begin to happen. As we go on the job, doors open. As we go to the store, money comes to us. As we move about, it's checks in the mail. It's provisions being made. That's the posture he wants us in. And let me tell you something right now. With what's going on right now, that's the posture I'm in. I'm expecting something from God. But let me tell you something. If everything was lining up and everything was in order, I wouldn't be worrying about God right now, would I? Listen, he probably would be second or third. But right now, sometimes he make it real for you. That's just his loving grace and mercy. That's just his loving kindness that he's showing you. And sometimes we interpret it as pain. No, baby, that ain't pain. He's revealing something to you because everything happens for a reason. Everything has a purpose. There's a purpose behind what you're going through. And you're going to have to get in God's face if you want to get to the rooter and the tutor of what's actually going on. He wants us to be dependent on him. My God, that's what the word said. The word say that the just shall live by what? Live by the government, by the current president and the administration. No, it say that the just shall live by faith. The just shall live by faith. That's a word, beloved. That's a word right there. So listen, sometimes it just happens that way. But listen, we can't sit up here and mope and gripe and worried about the stuff that's not working out, but we got to get in the master space. Like we got to get in his face. Like, and let me tell you something, it's a personal thing. It's a one-on-one thing. Like it's about your relationship with him. You're going to have to learn to get in his face. Why? Because he's speaking to you. He wants to speak to you. He wants to reveal some things to you. He wants to show you some things. Sometimes we try to fix ourselves and then present ourselves to him. Baby. Listen, you better get in his face. Listen, that's why when the Messiah was crucified, it say the veil in the temple was rent. You don't need no high priest. You don't need no middleman. You don't, listen, it's good. I'm not telling you don't do it, but you really don't need nobody to pray for you. Because when he was crucified, the veil in the temple was rent. So no longer do I need a high priest, but I can approach the throne with boldness. I can be bold about my approach to God. I can approach him. And that's what we got to do. We got to get in a place where we are approaching him. Listen, Lisa, now is the season where we got to get in his face. I don't even know why I started walking down this road, Chris. But we got to get in a dimension where we're getting in his face. But let me tell you something. Sometimes the biggest distraction is you because you overthinking yourself. Listen, you overthinking stuff. You overprocessing stuff. Listen, he's not worried about that. But listen, he want a connection with you. He want a relationship with you. And let me tell you something. When you come into a relationship, you be your genuine self. And that's what I'm learning. That's what I'm learning, that I got to get in his face. I got to stop worrying about all the stuff of the past. I got to stop worrying about what they said. And listen, sometime that ring in my ear, all the stuff that was said to me, all the stuff that was done to me, all the pain that happened, all the history, all of what mama did, all the abandonment, all the abuse, all the neglect, all the failures. But listen, God is not worried about your failures. That's what the Messiah said. He said, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me. You got to recognize that God has anointed you for something. He has anointed you for a purpose. And listen, there's a clarion call. And much as there's a clarion call, I got to give him my attention. I got to give him my attention. But listen, beloved, time have been well spent. I thank God for these lives. I thank God for each and every one of you. So good talking to each and every one of you. Listen, follow me on YouTube, Lion Roar Ferguson. On TikTok, Ferg Knowledge. Thank you so much for the gifts on TikTok, Ferg Knowledge 416. I'm just on here, just spitting this stuff. Listen, life will throw lemons at you. And listen, we trying to mix up the juice. We trying to mix up the sauce. Why? Because the enemy always gonna throw some stuff to try to get you off your rocker. But let me tell you something. There is a greater power that is inside of you. There is a prevailing power inside of you. There is a prevailing praise inside of you. There is a prevailing anointing inside of you that will cause you to overcome, that will birth what you need in the right now. My God, I done shifted in the prophetic mode. My God. Listen, it's birthing the right now. It's birthing the right now. It's already inside of you. But baby, all them voices, all the stuff that was said, all the stuff that was done, all the previous hurt, all of the current hurt, you battling it, you playing in the arena with it, you fighting with it, baby, like my grandma used to say, it's time to let go and let God, beloved. It's that time, it's that season. Because why? We need him more than ever, Lisa. We need him more than ever. We need his guidance. We need his instruction. We need his life. We need his strength. Oh my God. I feel that somebody need a new thing to birth in their life in this season. Somebody is at their wit's end. But let me tell you something, Chris. God got the recipe. God got the recipe. God knows how to activate you, Bean. He knows how to activate you, even though you've been taking all these losses and you know that there's something more. And sometimes when we're looking for more, we look all on the outside. But baby, God already put it on the inside. Listen, when you came through your mother's womb, he put it on the inside of you. He planted some seeds in you. He spoke some things over you. He shaped you. He molded you. And that's why he told the prophet, he said, when you were in your mother's womb, I knew you. My God, I felt that in my spirit. When you were in your mother's womb, I knew you. I knew about you. I knew the mistakes that you were going to make. I knew the path that you were going to travel. And I knew that you was going to come back to me. Maybe it's time to go back to him because he already knows what he put inside of you. And what he put inside of you is going to birth more than you can imagine. It's going to birth more than you can do. It's going to birth more than you can say. It's going to bring in more than you're able to produce. It's going to cause overflow. For the word says that the earth will yield forth her increase. My God. That's what happens when we begin to align ourselves with the blessings of God. That's what happens when we align ourselves with the word of God. That's what happens when we align ourselves with the power that the Holy Spirit has put inside of us. That's what happens when we allow him to activate us. But baby, it ain't going to be activated if you distracted. It ain't going to be activated if you mentally and emotionally and spiritually compromise. Oh my God. Somebody need to say it's already there. It's already, well, how do I activate it? Maybe it's time to focus on the spiritual. It's time to focus on the things of God. And listen, that's why his word tells us that he won't withhold no good thing to them that walk uprightly. Why? Because when you stand uprightly, I ain't say perfect, but when you stand uprightly by spiritual virtue of authority and by the promises of his word, he got to release. He got to release what has already been ordained for you. My God. So sometimes we looking to produce things from our talent. We're looking to produce things from our knowledge. But sometimes God will hold things back. Sometimes God will put the brakes on certain things because he knew if you would have kept rolling in that direction, you might have been successful, but you probably would have failed. But listen, but it took him bringing you into this season so he could build you up. It took you going through this, Lisa, so he could build you up. And sometimes, he got to break you down. Sometimes it seems like he got to break you before he can pour into you. And some of you have been in that season where you've been broken so much because God is getting ready to pour into you. And that's the word. It say that God wants a broken and a contrite spirit. Sometimes he got to break that pride. Sometimes he got to break your faith in people. Sometimes he got to break your faith in things. Sometimes he got to break your faith in the church. Sometimes he got to break your faith in your mother. He got to break your faith in your father so you can have faith in him. And he got to break you so that he can let his oil, my God, the oil from heaven, the manna from heaven, begin to pour into you so it can nourish you and activate you. But we want to run from the process, baby. I'm not running from the process no more. I'm not running from the process. I'm not running from the process no more. If it's hurt I got to go through, I'm going to walk through the hurt. But as I'm walking through it, Chris, I'm going to be in God's face. I'm going to be seeking God. But again, beloved, my phone over here about to die. But listen, catch me again next week. And also, listen, follow our channel. Me and my wife meet the Fergusons. Follow our journey. Follow the journey. And listen, you all be blessed. Thank you so much for all the gifts on TikTok. Thank you all for the likes on YouTube. Again, on TikTok, Ferg Knowledge 416. Follow me. I'm here every Sunday at 8 o'clock. And listen, back a couple years ago, you would have found me in a pulpit with a suit on. And listen, here I am now, sitting on social media behind my camera. But listen, I'm going to do what God sent me to do. But, beloved, you all be blessed. And I'll catch you again next week. Same time, same channel. Be blessed.